Hey everybody, welcome to another dynamic episode of Dan's Models. This is John with Dan, and today we're looking at some HO scale cars here. What's going on with these?
This is a couple of Walthers covered hoppers, two different types. This one in the back is an airslide, and this is a pressure differential hopper. I've had these for a really long time. I think they might have come as a set.
Really? That seems like a strange set, doesn't
Well,
it?
it's because they're both ADM.
Uh-huh.
I'm not 100% sure of that, though, because, like I said, I've had these a really long time. But I've done some detailing on both of them, so I thought I'd bring them on and show them.
That's what Dan's Models is all about.
Yeah. Start with this car. I did some detailing on the ends. I changed the grab irons on the lower part here, and they were cast on, so I got rid of those and put freestanding grab irons. And I also added the Plano photo etched roof walk and crossover platform.
Okay.
And added uncoupling levers, which I think I fabricated myself. And I think the brackets are from Plano or something for a different type, but the lever itself I made from wire.
Yeah, don't you just bend those? I remember seeing you do that.
Yeah, sometimes I just bend them from wire. A lot of the modern cars have very simple styles of uncoupling levers, especially like not so much box cars. Those usually have complicated ones because they have cushion draft gear. But like hoppers and other cars that don't have that cushioning equipment usually have a fairly simple style.
Yeah.
So those are usually not too hard to bend yourself.
I remember watching you fabricate your own cut levers on weathering and detailing HO scale rolling stock. That was volume 1 and volume 2.
Yeah, I've
And
done that occasionally.
You did that a fair amount, and I remember because you used an eye bolt to thread it through.
Yeah, this one is, like I said, instead of an eye bolt, it's got a bracket that I think is from Plano.
Right.
Leftover part from one of their boxcar style uncoupling lever things. They usually include a few extras, so I use
that's
that.
nice. That's nice of them, right?
Yeah. And I also put the, KD scale couplers and also the high-tech train line air hoses, which are the rubber ones that bend, which are nice because then they don't snap off.
Yeah, and they look more realistic too, I think, than the other soft metal ones.
The ones that they have for modern cars like this too have a neat little retainer strap that you can attach to the bottom of the coupler box, so it actually looks pretty authentic.
Like holding it back.
Yeah. So another thing I did to this car was to use some eye bolts and brass wire to add this piece of piping on the side. I think it's the brake line. But in any case, working from photographs on the real thing, I realized that was missing from this car, so I added that.
That's a really nice touch because it's a separate piece.
Yeah. The other plumbing, the big piping, is that came with the car.
That looks pretty darn good too, actually. So.
Yeah. Thank you. I did have to actually add a splice to the stock piping, though, because right around here, there's this little piece which has the little nozzle on it, and there's the other piece, and they were separate, and there was a noticeable gap in here somewhere.
Oh, and it came that way?
Yeah. So I used a piece of round styrene rod and created a little splice and glued it in there.
That must have been hard. Like when did you have to sand it and paint it?
Yeah, it was
it
was a little bit of a pain, but I thought it was worth it in the end because it looks like a solid piece now.
Yeah.
So that was one modification I made. I also put metal wheels. I think this car was old enough that it still had plastic wheels.
Huh.
So I put metal ones on it.
Walthers is usually pretty good about stuff like that.
The newer Walthers, yes, but when they were selling a lot of stuff as kits, sometimes they had plastic wheels.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure of this because, like I said, I've had it for a really long time. If it had plastic wheels, obviously I changed them.
Yeah.
So and I did paint and weather the trucks, of course.
You always change plastic wheels.
Yeah, that's one of my rules.
Yeah, there's a good reason for that too.
Yeah,
if someone's new to the channel, maybe you should say why.
Well, there are differing opinions on it, but I think, and a lot of people think, that metal wheels help keep the track cleaner.
Yeah.
That's been my experience, because plastic wheels, I've noticed, usually accumulate a tire of crud as they roll around the layout, whereas metal wheels don't usually do that. So I think the metal on metal contact between the rail and the wheel kind of helps to keep everything cleaner. So again, it's an operational thing. So the airslide, I also did some detailing on. I added Detail Associates uncoupling levers to this one. Katie scale couplers again. And this time I used a Detail Associates Trainline air hose.
Okay.
And again, I used a Plano kit for the roof walk and the crossover platforms.
Photo etching. That's nice.
Photo etching. Yeah, because the original, especially the roof walk on these Walthers air slides, is a really thick hunk of plastic. It just looks really bad, I think. So it's well worth it to add the photo etch kit. It really makes it look much better. This car does, of course, have the cast-on ladders, which aren't the greatest, but I think they look at least acceptable with all the other details.
Yeah, I'm noticing especially on the right side and the camera's picture here, they just don't look that good.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe eventually somebody will come out with an improved air slide.
Yeah.
But
I wonder though, Dan, would it be possible to add just a thin strip decal that's black, just to make it look like there's a hole there?
I never thought of that. I don't know.
Or maybe I don't know how easy it would be to do it with a marker or a paint.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that would look like.
I don't know, but it might look better than just having it looks like they glued 2x4s to the side of the car.
I know. I've kind of gotten spoiled with everything nowadays. When these were brought out, they were pretty cool, but nowadays everything's got separate ladders and grabs and all that. And I've gotten spoiled with that.
It just doesn't look as good as it could.
I only have a few of these Walthers air slides. Yeah. So.
And, actually, if you hook them up with other cars and stuff and you don't really see the end as obviously as I'm seeing it here on the picture, right. You probably wouldn't.
One thing I've tried to keep in mind is, one model is not the whole layout.
Yeah, and it's not the whole train either. So
Right. So this car, I definitely changed the wheels. This one did have plastic wheels, and these are actually Reeboks wheels. They're the 88 tread, the semi-fine scale. I also added a little bit of brake plumbing underneath, like these pipes that go between these different pieces. It's not going to win any contests, and it's not a fully done brake rigging job. But when the car's rolling down the track, it looks like there's something there more than the stock model.
Yeah, and just looking at it like this, it looks fine too.
Yeah, well, there should be this little piece should connect to something else, and there's stuff missing off of this, but it's nothing you can really see when the model's on the track.
Do they have contests where you have to have all that stuff?
Yeah, I think they do.
Oh my goodness!
If you want to, building for a contest is kind of different than building for a layout.
Well, here's a question though, because I wonder about this. How would somebody know? Do you have to have the blueprint or whatever for the plans for the car, right, to know where all the piping goes? Like, you can't get a picture of it.
Yeah, I guess you would. I don't know how they document that.
Yeah, how would they judge that? I'm just curious. Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe somebody who do that. Yeah, maybe somebody who watches this can let me know. I'm just kind of curious now. Like, how, if you're someone who does this kind of stuff for contests, how do you find out whether the plumbing is accurate or not?
Yeah, because it is actually hard, because a lot of times you can't get photographs of that. Unless you find a photograph of a derailment where the car's on its side or something.
It's so unlikely, I would think.
Yeah.
So that's just my curiosity for this week. So if you know the answer to that, send me an email. Just use podcast at TSG Multimedia. That's where we get all of our, video-related correspondence.
Yeah.
So sorry, you were going to say something else.
Oh, yeah. I also glued in these little pieces of, this is brass rod that I painted gray. And I just, these are basically actuators that carry the brake force from the cylinder here to each truck, so it can squeeze the brake shoes.
Is that styrene you added too? Those little plates?
I added those just as a spacer, so those little rods just stick down enough so that you can see them when they're rolling down the track, and you don't see the styrene pads because they're behind the discharge gates there.
Sure. Yeah, I can tell how you did that. That's pretty clever, actually.
Yeah, so my whole thing is just to make the car look good when it's rolling down the track.
Dan, you're smarter than I thought.
Thanks.
You think, right?
Yeah, I think, yeah. Another thing I did with this car, because I thought that the stirrup steps were a little clunky looking, was I actually filed them thinner. Could have probably replaced them entirely, but in this car I just chose to file them thinner, which is fine, although you have to be really careful because the thinner they get, the more fragile they get.
Right.
So
I could see accidentally filing just a little too much or just a little too hard and
breaking
it cracks.
Yeah. So anyway, I did that too to just make it look a little nicer.
You know, while we were doing this, Dan, I figured out what ADM stands for. This is another one of Dan's models.
Oh, yeah. I think it's actually Archer Daniels Midland.
Oh,
It's an agriculture company, agribusiness.
Well,
but
okay.
Okay,
I thought I
well.
figured something out there.
anyway, this air slide I probably obviously could use a bit of weathering. I didn't really do anything yet to it. Well, I weathered the trucks, but I didn't do anything to the rest of the car except spray it with some dull coat.
Yeah, usually you have some junk around the hatches.
Yeah, I didn't do much of that. I did weather this the other car a little bit. It's got some discoloration along the panel lines and stuff like that, so it looks a little bit more like an in-service car.
Yeah,
as opposed to a brand new car.
Well, I mean, but the air slide could be brand new. I mean,
It could be.
You never
Yeah.
know, right?
Yeah, that probably will weather it eventually.
Yeah, I think I would be inclined to weather it just to sort of make up for the lack of fine detail in the grabs and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
maybe just if it had an amazing weathering job, people wouldn't notice that.
Yeah. So
Oh, all right. Well, I guess that'll do it for this edition, and we'll catch you again next week. So
Yeah.
thanks for watching.
hey.